Welcome to Ink and Magic, a podcast where we read and discuss the writing craft, world building, and romance of paranormal and fantasy novels.
If you love books with bite, set in worlds of magic and mayhem, then you're in the right place. My name's Nikisha Shanae. I go by Ines.
And I'm Leslie. I write as L. Penelope. And welcome to the show. So, what is this podcast? Why are we doing this?
That's a great question, Leslie. Why are we doing this?
Well, the idea is to, read paranormal romance and fantasy romance novels that are meaningful to us, that have, become part of the reason why we write in this genre. Why are we romance authors in the first place? And one of the answers for me is Nalini Singh's Psy-Changeling series, which is going to be what we start out with.
And even before our love of paranormal romance author, Leslie and I, we were both classmates in college as well as roommates, and we had a love of film. So our love of story goes back really deep, really far, and we didn't always like necessarily the most commercial of films.
That's not like popular when you're in film school and when you're studying television and film production.
This is true. But Leslie and I found each other again, not that we actually really lost touch, but we bonded again through story as we did in college. But this time the stories, they had bite, they had teeth,
they had spice, they had steam.
They had spice. And yeah, one of the series that we read together over the years was Nalini Singh. The Psy-Changeling series, I gravitated towards those more than I wasn't really into contemporary romance. But give me a little bit of the magic, give me a little bit of the fantastical, and I was there. Hi, I'm Ines, by the way. And I write paranormal romance as well as contemporary romance, but it either has to be steamy or there has to be some type of magical or mythical element to it.
Yeah, and I'm Leslie, and I write fantasy romance and paranormal romance, along with historical fantasy with love stories in it. And I'm always attracted to something magical, mysterious. I tried to write contemporary, but the angels and demons showed up, so I figured that really wasn't my path. And just like Inez, the Nalini Singh's series was one of the first that I read. So I kind of started getting into, I don't know if you consider Twilight romance, but
yes.
Like, you think of it as YA, but it is romance, but it takes a long time.
It's YA obsessive love, the kind that we want when we are that young and don't know better.
And I read it in my late 20s, so
Same.
I wasn't that young, but I still related to it, connecting to like back when I had been that young and felt those feelings so intensely. And then, like a lot of people who are adults and read Twilight, you're like, what else can I read but make it spicier? And that brought me to Nalini Singh. It brought me to Crossley Cole and to other paranormal romance and some urban fantasy and then other kinds of romance. I read all across the romance spectrum now. But in terms of writing, I think my first love is still something with magic, something with creatures, something with other abilities and powers.
Agreed. And it's really funny that Leslie and I were both in film school. Leslie was in film school. I was in film school for a semester before coming to my senses and changing to television where I belonged. But we still had a lot of the same classes. And the thing that when we're talking to each other and it's not just the two of us and there's other authors or readers in the room with us and we start to talk about books, we started to see, we're talking about books in a different way. It wasn't just, so I like the character. We started to talk about, well, I loved that he was a false narrator. That became interesting to me. Or I loved how he was morally gray or how he was an anti-hero. We started to talk about the structure and the fun and games of things. And people would look at us like, what are you two going on and on about? And I realized that, when you come from film and television, there's a structure because there's a time crunch that we have to deal with. But a lot of these story elements, near all of them, are in novels. And both of us, we really wanted to start having discussions with other people who could speak this language.
Right. And that's one of the reasons that we are here on this podcast. And one of the reasons we think that you should listen and that you'll enjoy it. Whether you are a reader or a writer, I think there's something to be gained from our perspective on the structure, breaking down, craft. So how we're going to work this podcast is we'll be going through the Psy-Changeling series by Nalini Singh, starting out with that. It's a nice meaty series. It'll take us a while to get through. And we'll intersperse those book discussion episodes with episodes on craft. And also, we'll have some special guests showing up from time to time too to talk about their work. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited about it.
It's absolutely going to be a lot of fun. So if you're an author, you're going to get a lot of craft talk. But if you're a reader, this is going to be a book club for you. And we're going to talk about if paranormal and fantasy is your jam. That's our jam too. And that's going to be our primary focus here. So you get to indulge in some nerdy talk about books. And of course, we're going to talk about how hot and how steamy the guys are. Of course.
Of course. Yeah. You can't talk about P&R without that. So, yeah, we hope that you will join us. Look for the first full episode dropping soon and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything.
We'll see you soon, guys.